Welcome to our first ever Star Trek podcast. I'm Chris.
And I'm Andrea. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, so this is how it's going to play out. Basically, I've been a lifelong Star Trek fan. I started watching with The Next Generation in the 80s. I don't really remember if I watched it like live as the episodes came out, but it was always recorded. My dad always had it recorded. And I've watched every series since. I haven't finished Deep Space Nine. And I've finished all the new Trek besides Lower Decks, which we're currently watching. And that's where we're going to start off. We're going to start off watching Lower Decks.
And I watched pretty close to all of Voyager. And I think I watched a couple seasons of The Next Generation. I haven't watched any of the original. I've watched some of the Next Generation movies. And I've watched sporadic an episode or two when I come downstairs and you're watching Discovery or Enterprise.
Yeah, I've been trying to catch up on all the new Trek. I've been having troubles. I like Discovery because Discovery first came out and it brought back Star Trek. But then Strange New Worlds came out, which was, in my opinion, a little bit more in line with the Trek I like. But yeah, but this episode is going to be episode 1 covering Lower Decks episode 1, season 1.
Yes, and it's an animated show. And why that's important is because I'm very hesitant towards animated shows. I think because I grew up in the Family Guy era and I was watching it while female. So
ooh, edgy.
Yeah, well, I'm not trying to be edgy, but like a lot of the jokes are at, my gender's expense.
They're at a lot of people's expense, but that's I actually understand what you're saying because I never really got behind Rick and Morty, and this is very Rick and Morty-esque, mostly because the showrunner is from Rick and Morty.
Oh, that explains why they have that sort of look.
And the reason why I like Lower Decks, it did take me a little bit of time to warm up to it, is it's incredibly canon with the Star Trek storyline. Everything you see in Lower Decks is canon.
And canon's important. I know this because a lot of the YouTube videos that I watch, I browse past, have things like canon is important in their titles. And then I just browse past to watch.
So we start off with the first episode. I think it jump right into the title scene, the title credits? I think it does.
I don't think so.
Oh, you don't think so?
No. I believe he's doing the captain's monologue, which we soon find out is from a broom closet.
It's a Starfleet broom closet, so they probably have a pretty good name for it.
You know what? I don't think I've ever seen a Starfleet janitor in any...
Well, here's the thing is... Lower Decks, I got squeakiness, but...
Is it a self-cleaning starship?
Kind of.
Oh.
Yes. Where is it touched upon? Maybe that's Disco, where they have little robots that run around. But I feel like we're at the point, if we have Roombas now, then the Cerritos should...
Invisible Roombas.
Well, not invisible.
That's the next step, right?
Why would they be invisible?
Because how else are you going to make a Roomba better?
Well, you can make it drive in appropriate direction and not stick in a corner.
It doesn't stick in a corner. It goes sporadically. It just chooses on whim where to go and...
How to get there?
Yes.
And also, Boimler, he wasn't necessarily in a broom closet. He was in a storage closet.
Is his name Boiler or Boimler?
Boimler.
Okay.
Boimler. Boimler.
Bernard?
What are you?
Bumner. What did the captain call her later? Buford.
Something like that. I don't know. Okay. But yeah, Brad Boimler is our main character. Okay.
And he wants to be captain.
Well, yeah, he wants command. He's in the command program. So yeah, he's an ensign. They're all ensigns.
You know what? I think I identify most with him. He's very uptight and no sense of humor at all.
He has emotions.
Okay, no, that's not me.
If it was like a Vulcan Boimler. It could be argued, though, that Vulcans might have more emotions than humans. But that's an argument for another time.
They just choose. Well,
they don't choose. They have a whole science academy to... Well, I don't think they teach it in the science academy. I think it's growing up. But that doesn't matter. Vulcans aren't even in this episode. All right. So where are we to? We got Boimler trying to do... And they're not... Mariner called it a captain's log. But every Starfleet officer keeps their own personal log.
But why?
To document what they're doing that day, or to keep track of what they're doing.
So they all have their own journals.
There's like journals, yeah.
But if something happened, and like the starship exploded, and they could somehow use the cloud, to see everybody's journals, they're not going to go look at the ensign's journal. They're gonna.
Yeah, but I don't think the journals, personal logs, are for personal. That's their private diary. Like the captain's log that's the log of the ship. Like if you look at ships that sail now or sailing ships, they kept a log of everything they did. That is on the record. I think personal logs are just, diary on the ship.
Okay, this opening's credits is not very flattering to the ship.
Okay, so the point of Lower Decks, you can't see it, but we actually have the Lower Decks logo up right now. It seems very apropos. Oh. The whole idea is that it's especially season 1, because I've seen up to season 3 a bit now.
No spoilers.
Yeah, I'm not going to. But season 1, they really... It's not just the lower decks. Like the Cerritos is kind of like the lower decks of Starfleet. I think what they try and go for is the California class, which is the ship they are. Is like just the Honda Civic of the Federation. It's just there's like 100 of them, and they just go and do all the like work that the capital ships like the Titan and the Enterprise they don't have time or don't care to do. Oh, which actually is a good one for this episode because it's Second Contact. Enterprise isn't going to come back and be like, hey, so we said hi or whatever, and now we're going to bring you some stuff.
We're friends now. For life.
Yeah, friends now for life is California class. Oh. So yeah, they're all kind of like it's all the lower decks of kind of Starfleet. So yeah, it starts with them getting hit by a rock in a asteroid belt. I think that's right.
The part that stood out to me a lot was when all the other ships are sort of attacking those Borg cubes, which, yes, I know about those. Our ship just turns tail and run.
But there is something you missed.
What did I miss?
Who are the Borg fighting?
Oh, are those not Federation ships? No. Whose ships are those?
Those are Romulan.
Oh, okay, so the Romulan are attacking the Borg, and then our ship's just like, nope, peace out, I'm out.
Well, no, if you look, I want to make sure I get the, it's a warbird. It is a warbird. What did I type in before? A bird of prey. I always confuse Klingon birds of prey with Romulan warbirds. Always.
Romulans.
Yeah, so the Romulans and the Borg are
fighting.
Fighting, and actually, which is interesting, because if you look into Picard, that actually becomes a thing a little bit later with the Romulan and the Borg technology. But the Cerritos doesn't run until it gets hit.
Oh no.
So
I don't know if that's better or worse.
Well, I think it's worse. So and it's not even like a direct hit, it's just a hit to the shields. It's like it showed up, saw what was happening, got a direct hit in the shields, and
nope.
like, no.
Nope.
But I think that's more indicative of saying that, like, we ain't no combat ship. You guys got this. And they're Romulan warbirds. Those things are huge. They're bigger than Enterprise D. They're bigger. Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's just setting up the series to be,
some sort of comedy.
Here's hoping.
Okay. So are you comfortable with that fact there?
Yes.
Okay. Where are you at now? You've watched the title sequence.
Yeah, like, it's introducing all the characters.
Right.
And their relationships to each other. And later on in the episode, it shows that Bromler?
We're going to get there. Keep going. No, Boimler?
Boimler. Okay, that'll take me a long time. He and Mariner have been friends for a year, but they do not seem like, first of all, they're friends, and second of all, that they've been, sorry, you're playing this in the background. That's the banana peel. It's saying banana hot, and it keeps shooting up hot bananas.
Yeah.
So clearly it's stuck on, like, repeat. So clearly at some point somebody ordered a banana hot.
Well, no, that doesn't necessarily mean. It could be just a glitch in the system, and it just picked a random food to replicate.
In a random temperature?
Yeah.
Do you have to specify temperature?
Well,
each
they
time?
do frequently. Like, Picard always ordered his Earl Grey hot. What was your point there? You're just saying that somebody on the ship ordered a hot banana?
Yes.
Ooh, can we call it the Hot Banana Podcast?
The Hot Banana Podcast.
Okay.
No, it's got to be banana hot. You know, I feel like Mariner and because they don't seem comfortable enough with each other to have been friends for a year, but they also definitely, unless she's just mean to everybody.
Well, Mariner, I think she is mean to everybody. She's got a never say work spirit, you know. And we find out why that is a little bit later, but you know, we've all went to school with that one person.
The one mean person?
Yeah, the one. I wouldn't say Mariner. She kind of isn't mean. She's just apathetic, maybe. But it doesn't matter. We can't really dig into that right now.
Yeah.
No.
You know, she doesn't seem very Starfleet to me. But also, this whole show, there's a lot of swears. There's some language in this show.
Is there?
Yeah. Yeah, there's at least 2 swears that I can remember, but
Okay, but they beep it out.
No.
Okay, I'm gonna keep an eye on that because I'm pretty sure they beep it out. No, they do beep it out because Dr. Tana, she swears a lot, and it is just beep town up in sickbay there.
No.
Okay, but we'll come back to that. All right, because we do run the episode in the background as we talk about it. So we'll talk about the ensigns. We got Brad
Boimler.
There you go.
Ah, I got it.
Yeah. And then Mariner.
Yep.
Remember her first name?
What's the
You gotta remember her first name?
Okay. No, I don't.
Beckett.
Beckett Mariner.
Yeah.
I should write these down.
Yeah. And then there's
B-Rad. Beckett.
then Devana Tendi. That's the science.
Tendi?
Yeah, she's the Orion, I believe. Oh, I'm sure it's Orion, but I'm always so nervous about saying things I know because. So your pen doesn't work.
My pen doesn't work, so I'm going to have to remember this.
Well,
B-Rad, Beckett, Tendi.
Yeah, and then do you remember Cyborg?
Oh, gosh. It's like a common, interesting name. Is it like Xavier?
It's so close.
Xander?
Not even close. If you're going for his first name, it's Sam.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And his last name's Rutherford. He's the engineer.
I was close. Yeah. I was, yeah.
Yeah. And then you got Commander Ransom. The Jack Ransom. He's played by Jerry O'Connell, who was really popular in the 90s. In like those, I think in like the Tomcats show, and he was in something big that I can't remember, but it doesn't matter. There's a lot of Sam Rutherford is Eugene Cordero, the guy who played Pillboy in
The Good Place.
Yeah. So that's Commander Ransom, and then I can't remember the rest of the bridge crew right now, but we'll cover that in a. We Captain Freeman, which we find something out at the end of the episode, but
yes.
I don't know. Do we could just say it now because chances are people have seen the episode.
Yeah. If you're watching the episode while we're talking, I'm so sorry.
We'll be quiet.
It's a commercial break.
Cut to a commercial break. That was weird. Yeah. So it turns out Captain Freeman is Mariner's mom.
Yes, and her dad is an admiral.
Yes.
So that's pretty big shoes to fill.
For who?
For her.
She obviously doesn't care. She ain't trying to fill.
She must care because she's on the ship.
Oh, that's.
If she didn't
deep.
care at all, she would be. Where do people go when they're not on starships?
Well, see, everyone seems to think in the Star Trek universe everyone's in Starfleet, but that's not true.
So
that's not true. Starfleet is a choice. I think they really touched on it in 2009 when Kirk was kind of on the fence about Starfleet.
And what was he doing in his off time?
Getting into trouble in bar fights.
Oh, yes.
I mean,
riding motorcycles.
Yeah, because to really push home the.
See, you can tell that was a previous one because his motorcycle wasn't invisible.
That's not a thing.
I think it is. I think that's where technology's going. You know, once we've peaked at usefulness, it's just gonna be visible or invisible.
Okay. I didn't realize it was Ransom that first got bit by the zombie virus.
I don't know if it's just me or if the zombie mayhem murder spree just came out of nowhere at some point.
No, it did. And that's a real good point too with the lower decks is on the bridge crew. If you're following the bridge crew, you would follow it. But then the lower decks is just something's happening upstairs and they don't know about it. I think a lot of the show they would focus on just like whatever. I thought it'd be funny if they just like had them like doing their talk, and then all of a sudden they go to like red alert, but no one knows why, and then it clears and no one knows why, and which they kind of touch on. But yeah, do you have any notes? You know, the podcast that I love is the Office Ladies podcast, and they at the beginning have fast facts and stuff before they get into the episodes.
Because they worked on it.
Yeah, we didn't work on this.
No, we didn't.
No, you don't even you didn't even know what a Romulan warbird looked like. I didn't remember the name of it, and that's embarrassing for me.
We are not part of this show. You know what? How about you compare it to the podcast you like, and I'll compare it. I've been watching a lot of She-Hulk videos lately.
But no, I'm just saying if we have fast facts, we would like introduce the facts like throughout the podcast or at the beginning. Well, I don't really have facts.
Yeah, I have
like
more
fast
like
questions.
more like quotes.
Okay.
Like,
What do you got?
Chris. But that's what Roy Miller said about Mariner when she was like, "Let's get naked." No, I don't remember. You know, that's the problem. It's been 20 minutes since I watched the show.
Yeah, but you that's a quote out of context. Oh, you wrote.
I wrote it down
and
I got an exclamation point.
It took up like 3 spots. That's
Yeah.
almost a waste of paper. And what did you think that was gonna do?
I just was gonna.
If you would have just said that, if you would have just said that, I would have no idea what you're talking about.
These are my notes. Chris, ew, milk.
Okay.
And, what kind of music do you listen to?
I don't. What?
That was one of Sam's when he's having this date. That was one of the questions when they were spacewalking, and it's funny because that's my go-to.
Ah, I see. Well, I have more informative stuff. I'll throw in informative stuff at you. We'll start with the Cerritos is a California class ship I mentioned, and every California class ship so far that we've seen is named after a town or city in California.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and then we covered the whole personal logs and stuff, but how Mariner has a job is still beyond me. Well, it's not really beyond me because obviously it's a little bit of nepotism in there.
Yes, I guess this episode they're trying to show that she can be kind of rash, but she's also got the heart of gold for trying to get those little aliens some farming equipment.
Yeah, I guess she was like looking out for them or whatever.
And the aliens, I don't think really wanted it that much. Look, okay, if you see when she's talking with him, the one guy's got his arms crossed. He's like, I don't know, we're just humoring this lady. Like, I think she wants to give us stuff.
They do seem a little.
And then first sign of trouble. Okay, and the way she says, "You don't know what you're talking about," seems like it might be something more important than I'm handing out free shovels. Like, I feel like they're backing away slowly. Oh, okay, he does have a phaser, so I guess that would be.
He did fire the phaser,
Yeah.
but Mariner actually goes into how many Starfleet protocols he broke. So, yeah, but yeah, she's kind of doing her own thing, and she's got it's a moral compass. It's a wacky one, but she's got it. The thing I like, because I'm a real Star Trek nerd, is the rank pips.
What are rank pips? What also are ops? In the beginning of the show, he's like, this is ops, that's ops, this is ops. So
there's a lot of ops.
There's a lot of ops.
Well, okay, first of all, let's cover the rank pips.
Okay.
The rank pips are the rank on their neck.
Okay.
So the one full pip with full gold is ensign. Oh, I should have wrote these down. Because then I think it's ensign, lieutenant junior grade, which they rarely ever in Star Trek mention, to the point at which people thought that they got rid of the rank. But actually, in one of the episodes, they call someone lieutenant junior grade. Mm-hmm. So it's ensign, lieutenant junior grade, lieutenant, then lieutenant commander, commander, and captain. And they goes up unfilled pips and filled pips. So if you see 4 solid gold pips, that's captain. 3 solid gold pips is commander. And you'll see that on Ransom's neck. And what's really interesting is the same thing as the Navy nowadays, is the ship can have 2 rank captains on it, but there's only 1 captain of the ship. And we actually see that in Discovery with Saru and Burnham. They are both captains.
What does the other captain do?
Well, the other captain is the XO, the number 1, if you will.
Oh.
You may have heard that before.
Yes. Like Riker. Who was Janeway's one? Chakotay. Never mind.
Unbelievable.
I knew that.
Yeah, okay. Also, what's really neat is in the when Boimler's Phaser and Phaser and Mariner there, is you see the truck she's driving, the ATV.
Yeah.
That is an Argo, first seen in Star Trek Nemesis, and it is the first time I think we've seen an ATV Starfleet like wheeled vehicle before. And that was brought into Nemesis, and Lower Decks takes place a year after Nemesis.
Oh.
So they start farming out the Argos to all sorts of ships.
But then, obviously, they must have some sort of manufacturing defect because they're not seen again in the future.
What do you mean?
Are we catching up?
We're catching up. Wait, anything
Okay,
past
I'm
Nemesis?
confused at the time.
Okay.
Okay, what's past Nemesis?
There was one. It was Insurrection after Nemesis? Yeah, so it went Generations for TNG, Generations, First Contact, Insurrection, and Nemesis. Nemesis was the last TNG movie, then the reboot started, which was, a reboot. So the furthest movie that was made was Nemesis.
Okay.
So this is, like, when you look in the future timelines with the TV shows, Disco eventually becomes way in the future, too far in the future to even really count. Picard is the closest that you're going to get to, like, you might see an Argo in Picard, maybe. Because that was 20 years since Nemesis, I think. I don't remember what your question was, but that was the answer. And then you asked what operations were. Well,
Or is it ops? But yes.
You can assume that ops is short for operations. There's a lot of operations stuff on the ship, and it's if you look at the uniform colors, operations is yellow. They're engineers, stuff like that. Red is command, and then blue is science, and that falls under medical too.
Okay, so the engineers have pretty much taken over the ship. Then that makes sense because it is a ship in space. There's a lot that needs to keep it from exploding or
That's,
running out of air.
I guess that's true. The thing that really is interesting that comes up too is it's a year after Nemesis, but their uniforms are very reminiscent of a mix of like TNG style uniforms or DS9 sort of. There's I think it was Generations when Deep Space Nine came out. Here's a fun little tidbit for you. There was a uniform shortage on the set, so some of them still had the original TNG uniform, some had the DS9. If you look on Generations, Geordi, he gets a DS9 uniform that's way too big for him. It was from one of the characters, and you can see how big it is. He looks like floating in it. It's pretty funny. But with this, it kind of more pushes on the fact that different ships have different uniforms kind of thing, and there's multiple uniforms happening at the same time. Because you'll see when they get to the Titan or when they get to certain star bases that they're wearing the latest like First Contact uniforms and stuff like that, the Nemesis uniforms.
This is where they're moonwalking. This is what kind of music do you listen to? And I think she just ignores him.
Well, he said, what kind of music are you into?
I don't want to spoil alert for this episode a little bit later.
Well, you just say spoil. You say spoil it.
I don't want to spoil. But at the end, Sam's friend is, what is her name? Tandy? Tiana?
Wait, Tendi?
Tendi.
Okay. The Orion.
Tendi. She's saying like, well, are you going to see her again? You had a great date. Are you going to see her again? And he goes, no. Like they got along great, but she just, what couldn't she do?
I don't know, but
I couldn't remember. But it's funny because like a year ago, I would have thought, oh, that's so trivial. They had chemistry. They looked like they had a great time. Why didn't he see her again? But then I watched 2 seasons of Indian Matchmaker on Netflix. And it turns out that happens a lot in real life. The people that you think are just meant to be together, they're like, oh, I don't know. She's like 2 inches shorter than my ideal woman. And she's like, well, I don't know. He makes like $3,000 less than my ideal salary for the guy. So it makes sense.
A running thing with especially Rutherford and Boimler is they are blinded by their wanting to do really good at their jobs. Because if you remember, What's-Her-Face tried to make out with Rutherford.
Yeah.
After the door went open, they had to get through, and then he was more concerned why the door didn't open, and he was worried about the more operations or ops of the ship than he was of the operations of Her.
Romance.
Yeah, it's Operations of Romance. That's what we'll call it. Operations of Romance.
Then everything gets tied up in a neat little bow, and then during the captain's final log, she just, I think, neglects to mention any of the massive deaths that occurred.
I don't know if there was deaths.
There was 100% zombies
Okay,
eating
some
each
did
other.
explode. Yeah, but it's Starfleet, man.
And then she was like, all's well that ends well. So
It is all's well that ends well.
I mean, they had families.
Not on the ship, but maybe most of them were on stun. Did we ever see one explode?
We saw people's chests get eaten, and then the one with the heart. That was funny.
Oh, Shax was the
Yeah.
was
Ow! Sorry. Ow! Sorry.
and I believe he's Bajoran.
Okay.
I believe he's Bajoran, and he's angry. He's an angry Bajoran. Which aren't they all?
Are they all? No, just kidding.
But a lot of people. Well, let's see. I'm trying to watch to see if there's any murder. They're bitey.
Like, I think near the end here, it's all just stun.
Yeah. That's
But
stun.
I think in the beginning, when the initial zombie breaks out, like, I think they are legit eating each other.
Well, I think they only bite them to turn them into zombies.
And they
go
even
after.
asked, the one guy said, did I eat flesh? And the other one says, not that much. So I guess it depends where they ate the flesh.
Right. Their doctor's a cat.
Yes. And that's something that I know that you and I sort of had issues with.
A cat doctor?
When the Chris Pine movies came out. What are those ones called?
The Kelvin. We'll call that the Kelvin timeline.
That was just after a lot of the of Star Wars movies had come out, was it? Or I'm not sure. But those movies, it showed a lot of non-humanoid aliens. And I know that was kind of one of the things that you didn't really like about the movies initially.
You're thinking of the wrong thing.
Oh.
But there's a couple things I didn't... back then, I was a very cynical person. I've changed my attitude a lot since 2009. It was the book and the Star Trek Titan books where it wasn't just non-humanoid. It was like fish monster helming the Titan, and he needs his own like deck to live. And it was like very, very Star Wars. Very Star Wars. I went to a little Chekhov there. But it was very, very Star Wars-esque. Whereas like most aliens in Star Trek are humanoid. And I think it was like, I think they talked about having a common humanoid ancestor throughout the galaxy.
They did
but
in
what
a
have you
Next
seen?
Generation show. I just think
How
I
do you
remember
know
that
that?
one because I was like, did they just meet God and then just gloss over it?
Was that Next Generation, or was that one of the original series movies?
It was Picard.
What does God need with a spaceship? Starship.
I don't know
Kirk
that
would
one.
have said that.
No, it was definitely it was just a episode
passing
of the
comment?
week.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
they met the person who created all life, and then next week they were like, "So let's explore this part of the universe." They didn't like stop and create a cult or anything. So.
No, well that's good. That's good. Do you have any more questions there? Like, because I have one more fun fact. I think.
One question would be, is this a good show? What do you think?
It took me a little bit to warm up to it, but it's a good show. Was that really your question?
No, I didn't have any, so I just made one up on the spot. No, I
that
didn't
was
have
what you
any.
came up with?
Yeah.
Really? When they said cetacean ops, that didn't confuse you at all?
I don't recall them mentioning that.
They mentioned cetacean ops. So that's actually a big thing in Star Trek. It was mentioned, I think, for the first time on the TNG episode Yesterday's Enterprise. Cetacean ops. And there's always, Jordy mentioned it, but like people looked at closed captionings and then they're like station ops, but it's not. Cetacean ops it was a kind of a joke, but they really, well, not even a joke. It's in the technical manual, but it's a giant aquarium where they keep dolphins.
Oh.
And the dolphins work with navigation. And so there's a giant dolphin tank on the Cerritos. And on Enterprise D too. It's in the technical manual. And basically, I don't know exactly how it works, but the fact that the dolphins can move in 3 dimensions helps the navigation of the ship. Wow. And you'll see actually cetacean ops in lower decks. You actually meet the dolphins who can talk in their own dolphin language, but they get subtitles. So.
I wrote down the funniest part in the episode for me. I don't know if you wrote down.
I
but it was when she was talking about the sentient cave.
Oh yeah, that could sense your fears.
It's a dark place that knows things.
It's a dark place that knows things. Yeah, that was funny. There's no real standout jokes that I really liked.
You know, there's not a lot of stand-up, but I did find myself laughing just a few times. Like,
I think they really tried to, because I also think this was a pilot. I've never seen like anything before that, so I think they used this as a pilot. So they had to really drive home the, like maybe it got picked up before the pilot or something, but they really had to drive home the Rick and Morty-esque-ness of it. So it's like it's almost like they don't go for punchlines as much as like a running gags. Is kind of comes up more, but the fact that they use a lot of canon in it, and
yeah, at the end they're just listing off Mariner. You know, Kirk. You know, Spock. Yeah, no Spock. Who's Gary Mitchell?
Oh, you shouldn't have asked me that without my Google up, because Gary Mitchell.
You just Googled it, and then it said Gary Mitchell obituary.
Yeah, because it was the original series. Now, I don't know the original series all that well, but I can't remember. It doesn't matter. So we talked about sedation ops. Yeah, so they mentioned a lot of, like, there's going to be a lot of deep cuts that I won't get, because I'd like to consider myself a super Trekkie, but I'm just regular. But I've watched so much. I don't know.
And you seem to absorb it well. So.
I don't. I have troubles memorizing it. I blame Google. The fact that I know that I can just Google whatever, my brain just like, nah, we'll just like Google.
Should we try the next podcast sans Google?
Well, how would I know who Gary Mitchell was?
That would just be a mystery for the ages.
That actually reminded me of, if you watch The Next Generation and everything, you'll see a lot of times when one of the main characters comes up, let's say like Wesley or Data, they come onto the bridge and then they all of a sudden dismiss the person flying the ship at helm or gone. Now we know where they come from and where they go to. So Boimler and Mariner in command, that's actually their job. So you'll see them on the bridge every once in a while, and that they're the ones plugging the hole for the main crew.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's why I kind of like Lower Decks too. It's neat to watch. Kind of it might be. See, the premise is Rick and Morty-esque of it, but there's actually a Next Generation episode called Lower Decks, and it followed the Lower Deck crew.
Oh.
Less funny, but it was neat to see how the starship runs.
Probably less swearing.
Yeah. What I mean, I don't think there was swearing. I remember they bleep it out.
No.
We'll go through, but I don't think so.
Unless my head just autofills.
Okay, so where are we going with this? We're gonna be doing all the Lower Deck episodes.
Yeah, let's keep going with this and see how it goes. How many seasons are out right now? 1?
3.
Okay. That's a lot. Yeah. Wow. Okay. That sounds great. Let's go through, and I'm sure I'll become a pro by the end of it.
A pro what?
Apropos.
Okay. Yeah, I'm upset you didn't have questions. I'm upset you didn't have questions.
I'll try to write more questions and less quotes next time.
I don't know. We need to find an exit point. Think of your nerdiest Star Trek quote, and not one of those terrible things. Something people would recognize, be like, oh, that's from Star Trek. What's the most nerdiest thing you know about Star Trek?
Engage. End quote.
What's the nerdiest thing you know about Star Trek that isn't cliche? Let's see. The line must be drawn here.
And that would be from... I'm just antagonizing you now. I clearly know where that is from, so no further questions needed. Let's just say over and out. Until next time. I'm sure they said that at some point.
It seems like a very Picard thing in like a British accent. But okay.
Until next time.
Okay. I feel like we'll have to cut that down a bit, but okay.
Okay.
Hey, bye.
Bye.